Right, hello everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo, and as some of you may remember, during the last international break, I said this. This was both a selection and a performance of such significance for England, I'm going to give him his own dedicated video. So I would just rush what I have to say about him if I try and stick it into this video. So just take it as read, Gomes was probably the most important player on this pitch, and I will explain why sometime. But then, of course, no video appeared. But I am here today to say that that was not because I'm some sort of terrible liar who just couldn't be arsed to make it and fobbed you off with an excuse. It was because we had just this huge chew on with one of the cameras, and there was a file and I needed to fix it, but I couldn't get at it, and the person who could get at it couldn't fix it. And then by the time we did, the Premier League was back and the moment was gone. But the good thing about all these international breaks, like the only good thing about all these international breaks, is that that moment is back already. So, do you finally want to see the Angel Gomes video? Well, tough. Here it is anyway. Alright, so yes, England 2, Finland 0, and I'm not going to get back into like the whole tactical makeup of that game because we've already done that video. You can go watch it if you're curious. I'll stick it in the description. But it was sort of supposed to be a 4-2-3-1, except you watched it, it wasn't, because Jack Grealish likes to get into that half space there, Declan Rice was pushing up onto the other side there, and that was left Angel Gomes all the midfield to himself. Obviously not all the midfield to himself, because you had Rico Lewis coming in here and you had Trent Alexander-Arnold sort of coming in there. So it was one of these sort of patented 2-3-5 things. But the central hub, the warm center of the universe that this whole team orbited around, was Angel Gomes, and I thought he was very specifically excellent. Now, England, as you no doubt know, have sort of struggled with this central midfield profile for a very long time. They keep producing players of exceptional quality who do kind of fit into that position, and yet they get into major tournament games and don't feel like they have anybody of exceptional quality. Jordan Henderson, Kalvin Phillips, Declan Rice, Conor Gallagher, Kobbie Mainoo, Trent Alexander-Arnold, all players who at club level repeatedly do amazing things in the middle of the park, and yet as soon as an England shirt goes on and England come up against the bigger and better nations, or even just the smaller ones that are quite technically competent, they never feel like they, and this is the term, control games. A little bit too Dr. Evil that, wasn't it? Laser beam. Anyway, both the finals against Italy and Spain, those two semi-finals against the Netherlands and Croatia, even the quarter-final against Germany in Euro 2020, win or lose, England come away from these games against the more technical sides not having had that control. And you know what it's like. We come out of these tournaments, we all sit around and we scratch our heads and we wonder why teams like this that are just so unbelievably full of talent seem to struggle in these big games, why they don't go on and take advantage of early goals, why they seemingly sit back, why they can never get out of their own half, why they're constantly succeeding possession, territory and chances. But the issue, plain and simply, is that England do not produce the kind of players that enable you to control these kinds of games. Now, just before we go down this rabbit hole, right, I do need to stress that the kind of players we're about to talk about here are not the end-all, be-all of football. Like, England are capable of producing these fantastic attacking players who thrive in these games, which is why they've played like France, Germany, Spain, Italy, Croatia, the Netherlands, I'm no doubt forgetting some, and have scored in every single one of those games, which is like genuinely very impressive. And they also produce these fantastic, athletic, intelligent defensive players who are also class at this level, which is why of all the harrowing tournament exits I've just mentioned, none of them have been by anything more than a goal. So no matter who England are playing, they are more than capable of scoring, they are more than capable of defending, but the one thing you haven't really seen them do at all over like the last 8 years in a game is control it. And that, in an incredibly unsuccinct roundabout way, is why Angel Gomes could be so important. So this, from the Finland game, is his heat map. Now, I want you to look at that for a second and try and work out what it is that jumps out to you about it, okay? Take a second. Okay, so, thought about it? Yep, right. If your answer was nothing in particular, Adam, you are correct. But now we will also overlay all of his touches of the ball, and I want you to look at that as well and tell me what jumps out at you about it now. Give you another second. Yeah, you got it? Yep, that's exactly right. Still nothing in particular. What you are looking at here is merely the statistical data of a player who is always on. He isn't constantly going and collecting it off the back four, being the automatic first pass out of defence and starting off every single move. But neither is he taking advantage of Finland's very, very deep setup and looking to get himself into these attacking number 10 areas or out wide and provide overlaps. He's just always on. And what that means is that when England have time and space to build out from the back, they can give it to him. But when they're being pressed and space is limited, they can still give it to him. When the opposition are sort of defending on the halfway line and they need to move the ball from side to side to try and create a bit of space, they can give it to him. And when the opposition go back into a really low block and they're congesting all the space in the final third, they can give it to him. When an attack, be it on the left or the right or through the middle, breaks down and they need to recycle the ball and start again, they can give it to him. When they've just successfully counter-pressed, have got the ball back and need to decide whether they go for the jugular or reset their shape, they can give it to him. And none of that is in any way remarkable, aside from the fact that he plays for England. And this is what people mean when they talk about the profile. I've got to stop doing that. The profile of player. Like, Angel Gomes is not better than Declan Rice or better than Trent Alexander-Arnold or better than 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔, but he does very different things on a football pitch. And why that could be so important to England is because these specific things he does, as possibly unspectacular as they are the things that could help a team who never control big games control big games. So I will just, and my God, please forgive me for doing this to you, take you back to England 1, Denmark 1 at the Euros. And I don't know about all of you lot, but this was the match where alarm bells started ringing for me, because they were really good for a bit in their opening game, and then they had the lead and they kind of dropped off, and oh well, they've started with a win, who cares? But their inability to exert control, to wrestle back the momentum from Denmark in this match was, yeah, worrying. And in central midfield that day was Declan Rice and Trent Alexander-Arnold, two, unarguably, of the best players in the Premier League. Now, this is Declan Rice's heat map from that afternoon, and you will see he had to do most of his work in his own half. And that's because when Denmark did defend, they did so pretty much from the halfway line. So when Declan Rice had possession, when he could set the tempo, all he saw in front of him was an impenetrable red wall. And if you look at his passing map, you will see that he never had the confidence or the ability to try and play through any of that. This is all sideways. But conversely, if we look at Trent Alexander-Arnold's information from the same game, you'll see that he actually really struggled to get on the ball. They couldn't find him very easily. But obviously when they did, he's far better on the ball, so he's more likely to make something happen. And yet, if we look at his passes, they're so direct. He's constantly going long. He's constantly trying to switch it. He's constantly trying to play the ball miles away from where he currently is, because that's the only place there's any space. And what you've got here between how Declan Rice played that game and how Trent Alexander-Arnold played that game are two ways not to control a game of football. Like, Declan Rice's energy is excellent. He was getting across the pitch really well. He was always available for that pass, which is what you want, but the problem is that when he got it, he couldn't then unpick one line of pressure. He couldn't gently move the team up the pitch at the tempo he wanted them to. And likewise, while Trent Alexander-Arnold can do those things on the ball, they couldn't find him very well, he wasn't covering the ground well enough, and his instinct is always to go for the killer pass, never to progress the team up the pitch. Say it with me, everybody. Great players, yes. Right profile, no. What you saw from Angel Gomes against Finland was like the secret third in possession option, where he will make himself available and will cover the ground excellently, as you can see in his heat map. But when he receives the ball, it doesn't matter if there is space in front of him or someone in his face, he can decide how they're going to progress up the pitch. When Finland was set defensively, he was bringing the ball forward, waiting for a bit of pressure to come towards him, and then slipping the ball into the space that provided. And when Finland were not set and chances were opening up, he would quicken up the pace. He would find players with more direct balls. He would go a little bit longer. This is my favourite example in the whole game, right? An England attack has broken down on the left-hand side, and they're recycling it by giving it to Gomes. He's about to play a very simple, very readable, and very interceptable pass here, but his body language is such that no Finland player cottons on to where this is going. And as a result, not only has he now picked the ball up inside the Finnish block, attracting players toward him and creating a bit of space, but he then deftly slots it into Alexander-Arnold, who has also taken up a similar position, and now he's in the number 10 position, he can make something happen. And because, as we saw with the Denmark stuff, he wants to kill teams, he wants to play that final ball, he slips in 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗏, and if he scores, that probably becomes my favourite ever England goal in the Nations League. And just to put all that statistically, right, these are Angel Gomes' passing numbers over the last 365 days compared to the top 5 leagues. God bless to you, FB Ref. I love these graphs so much. And you will see he's a very competent passer of the ball. Now, you need that if you're going to want to control games. So we'll just bring 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧 up here, and you'll see that's not his game at all. 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧 is a wonderful, wonderful player who England should find a role for here. But his skills are in progression through dribbling, through press evasion, through things like that. He's not the passer. But then you compare him to Declan Rice, who does see an awful lot of the ball, plays in a high possession side like Arsenal, and all of a sudden starts to look a bit similar. But there's one key metric here that shows you the difference. They both see a lot of passes, they both get the ball into the final third, they both get the ball into the penalty area, which is what you want, but just, my word, the through balls comparison here, the ability to split a line of defence, a line of pressure with one of your passes, that is not Declan Rice at all. He has got that Celine Dion ball in his locker, near, far, wherever you are, so long as you're a mark. Declan Rice has the skill to find you, but he does not have the ability to play through you. And if you want to control a game, you want to move teams around, you want to force them to play at the tempo you want to play at, you need to be able to do that. And also, I do have to say, as like the #1 critic of little passing nerds and how much they ruin football, if you look at the progressive passes number here, which is a measure of how often these balls go forward as opposed to just pointlessly go sideways, he knows what he's doing. It's not passing for passing's sake, it's passing with intent. Now, I'm not the first person to make this point, and I'm certainly not going to be the last, but if you're looking for sort of a recent high-profile player to sort of draw an easy comparison to, he's not Rodri, sort of lacks the physical presence and the other things that Rodri can do, but he is very similar to 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And if you just bring his numbers up by comparison, obviously these are from his last season at PSG, not while he's been in Qatar, you will see he is also just one of the most complete and aggressive passers of the ball imaginable, but also, crucially, splitter of lines, which does sort of make him sound like a cross between a Game of Thrones character and a dealer. And just really quickly, as a fun thought experiment at the end of this video, this would now give England the possibility of having almost a perfect midfield unit of 3 here. You could have Gomes at the base, you could have the ball progression of 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you can have the all-round versatility and box threat of Declan Rice, but then what you have to do is somehow get 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗏, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden and Jude Bellingham, that's 6, into these 3 positions. So best of luck, Lee. Sorry, what's that? What would my England setup be? Come back to me. So, yes, there you go. That's the Angel Gomes video I promised you. But only now, as I'm starting to wrap it up, has it occurred to me, I'm like tops 85% sure it's Angel Gomes and not Angel Gomes for some reason. That might be all the Barclays men content I'm consuming. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing to us here at FourFourTwo. We're just so tantalizingly, excruciatingly close to 600,000 subs, which is genuinely mind-blowing. And new subscribers, whether it's a milestone or not, do genuinely help us grow the channel and let us do cool new things and show the right people that we're doing the right thing. So if you've not clicked that button yet, I can't promise you'll never regret it, because I'm not a fortune teller, but I think you won't. You can get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. I'm occasionally sort of fun there too. But until next time, which mercifully will be when the Premier League comes back, I've been Adam Clery, that's Angel Gomes, this is the England side that's gonna win the fucking lot, and I'll see you soon. Bye! I forgot what the word was. Bye.